Welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Today, Fani Willis has spoken. She says she's ready to go, meaning she's ready to prosecute former President Donald Trump. We'll talk about that today. Also, Democrats are concerned. They're expressing more and more concern about the black vote in 2024. We'll hear what some are saying about the black vote in 2024. And Alpha Phi Alpha has moved its convention from Florida because of its racist policies, heeding to the NAACP's travel advisory that they issued earlier this year. We'll also discuss that. And Texas police held a family at gunpoint after mixing up license plates. They got Arkansas mixed up with Arizona and terrorized this black family. We'll discuss that. But first, we're going to update a story from yesterday regarding Cardi B. We're going to talk about all of that with the one and only Austin Cooper. Good morning, Austin Cooper.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Good to see you as always. Lots and lots and lots is going on.
Absolutely, always.
Your beard is getting longer.
I know. Longer and grayer.
And grayer. Oh, gosh. You know, I was talking about on yesterday's show about Cardi B and really about this idea now that people just go to concerts and throwing objects on the phone, like phones and other things at artists. Now, the Cardi B, our viewers was saying yesterday how Cardi actually invited folks to throw water on her. And now more and more video does show that she did, in fact, ask audience members to throw water on, and certainly she very explicitly about certain parts of her body, she asked them to throw water on.
Throw me some water again, bitch, because I'm hot. And give me some water. Splash her down.
But it appeared that that segment had just ended when she walked across the stage and was pelted with water and ice by a young lady. Now that young lady reportedly has filed a police report with the Las Vegas Police Department claiming assault. I mean, Austin, you had to have seen this coming like a million miles away.
Well, the thing is, you know, I'm a fan of Cardi B. I've never gone to her concert, and I've never gone to any concert where I've seen or heard a performer asked to be thrown anything, much less, much less water on the stage. But, you know, she cannot have it both ways. You know, she cannot have been walking, you know, singing, performing, and asking people to throw water. I'm assuming to cool her off.
It was like 110 degrees.
Yeah, okay, that's so I get that. But how were her fans supposed to know to stop? Did she make an announcement? Okay, no more throwing of water on me. I'm not aware that she did. So this young lady, you know, caught up in the moment, the excitement. I'm sure she's watched I don't know how many others throw water on stage, and Cardi responds by throwing the microphone at her, and I believe striking her because she is pressing charges.
Well, yeah, apparently, if you saw, did you see how she threw that microphone?
I know, like a pitcher. You know, I didn't know if she was right-handed or left-handed. But after watching that throw, I said, "Oh, she's definitely left-handed." and she hit her.
Yes, I mean,
where did she hit her? Does it say?
Well, they don't specify. But here's the thing that I did see in other video too, Austin, that I found that might cause even more of a problem for Cardi, is that the moment she threw, because again, and as I brought out yesterday, there was you could see the ice. If you know the way they've shown it in different versions of it, you could see the ice clearly hit her in the head, but new video that shows the young lady's face, she was mortified that she hit Cardi with the ice and started yelling, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." You could see her
Oh,
mouthing,
wow. Wow.
and there was absolutely no mercy shown for her. Security escorted her out, and I mean, she was embarrassed, and so um, Cardi is probably going to have to pay in some way, shape, or form for this
You
microphone
know,
throwing incident.
as she should. I mean, the young lady said, mouthed she was sorry. In order to be that close, she had to have paid a decent amount, a decent amount
Yep.
of money, and to have your idol, your star, someone you pay good money to go
Hmm.
and see. She had to have been a pretty big fan,
Yep.
but I would imagine that she's no longer a fan. I mean, she had to live with that for the rest of her life.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, I think you're right, and I'm thinking about Cardi gets in some venues a hard time, from some people a hard time, and I don't know if you followed at all her ongoing litigation. Well, the litigation part is over with, but her continued push to get money from Tasha K, the blogger, um, and I tell you what, I'm 100% behind her on that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
people say,
Hmm.
well, Cardi's rich. She should show her some mercy. No, that young lady didn't show her any mercy. Now,
Hmm.
just as much
Hmm.
as I say that I don't think she should show Tasha no mercy, I think that she failed to show this young fan, this young lady, any mercy. And I think the young lady, she needs to pay for what she did. Now, it wasn't worth millions of dollars, whatever. That's up to the young lady, right?
Yeah, and had Cardi B issued an apology? Has she, reached out and called the young lady to discuss or to apologize to her personally, not necessarily publicly, but
Hmm.
certain personally? And imagine, um, you know, someone that you genuinely admire in the music industry, and but they strike you.
Hmm.
I mean, an assault, a form of assault. So
Yeah.
imagine how she must feel.
So, there's been no reports, and if she reached out to her personally, we don't know. But there's been no reports that she has. But here's the other thing, to think about too. Um, it's you reach out to her. Cardi reaches out to her, and publicly, and they meet or whatever. Doesn't that in some way, even though it's the right thing to do, in some ways it delivers a message to other unruly fans that if I do this or do something crazy or assault Cardi while she's on stage, um, I'll get to meet her.
I don't think so. I mean, I think anybody with a half an ounce of sense, and as our buddy Barrington is fond of saying, common and sense don't necessarily go, hand in hand like they should. But the first thing I would think at a certainly a concert of Cardi B, much less a concert of someone else, is if I throw something on stage, she's a good pitcher. She's got a good pitching arm, and and she's going to strike back.
She's gonna
So
strike back.
yeah, yeah.
And the other thing I'll say about this too, get your thoughts on is, this is another instance where on both sides, certainly the fans, the public has to realize that these artists are human beings, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, having said that, these artists have to. It's difficult for them, but they have to start realizing that they themselves are human, that they're not gods,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
perhaps they should behave accordingly.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree, with you, more. I mean, I would imagine at that level, at a Beyonce level, a Jay-Z level, Michael Jackson when he was alive, you develop a comfort, um, with the belief that the rules that apply to the thousands of people in your audience, dancing to your music, paying whatever they pay to get in there, buying your albums, buying your CDs. The rules for you are different than they are for her.
Yeah.
She probably, I would imagine that when she threw that mic and struck her, she did not give any thought to this young lady pressing charges. She probably assumed that I'm the great legendary Cardi B, and she's going to, they're going to escort her out, and an end of story. I'll get some, clearly it was taped, so I'll get some media attention, probably some negative feedback, but I will not hear from her. So I'm sure that having an assault charge filed with the local, where was it, Arizona?
No, Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, police department was a shock to Cardi B, and hopefully a wake up call. If you get hot on stage, no matter how hot it is, go stand by the fan.
Yeah, there are other measuring stick. Maybe I've seen people comment that Cardi would have beat her behind. Cardi would have did this. Yeah. and I don't doubt the prowess of Cardi B. But as the other part of this, we say it about police officers, and I'll say the same thing about celebrities, especially celebrities of that stature. How bold, how brave are you? What we say about the police when they don't have the other police, when they don't have their weapons, they don't have their badge. How bold are these celebrities when they don't have their bodyguards and stuff, right? So
absolutely.
I think it's you can't say, oh, Cardi would have did this or did that. She was mad enough. But that doesn't mean she could have beat the girl up. Who knows? That girl could have been ready.
Exactly.
But we don't want to go down that road either. But and it's really not about that. It's really about part of this is about she needs to control. When you are of that stature, when you are Cardi B, when you are whomever that ilk. You gotta exercise better self-control. You must, because it's going to cost you more than it will that particular fan.
And I mean, absolutely. We are all human beings, but we expect more, right or wrong. We expect more of our celebrities, of our singers, of our actors, of our elected officials. To a large degree, that is probably, unfair to expect them to be on their best behavior in public and in private 24/7. I mean, they're human, that I just said, as are we. But as a celebrity, I would have expected more from Cardi B.
Yeah.
And again, to be clear, I do not condone. There have been instances where others are, throwing objects on stage. I don't condone, that at all. I mean, act like you have some sort of a home training when you go to these types of, these types of events. But again, Cardi B was, for however long she did, asking people to throw, water. On her,
which is going to be the opening foray in that civil suit from this young lady's lawyer. You invited it. It's going to be the opening foray. So the thing about it is, at this point, Cardi's best bet is to reach out, is to have her team reach out and figure out, okay, how many zeros is going to go on this check?
Exactly.
That's about the bottom line.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And finally, on that note, before we move on, I must say, I read a lot. People says, "Oh, the music kept going. She was lip syncing." Now, if you've ever gone to a hip hop concert, or many of them are live to track. So there was absolutely. I'm not one for lip syncing. If I go to a show for a singer. Cardi's a rapper. She's not a singer. If I go to a show for a singer, if I go to, Diana Ross, whomever,
sing.
You better sing. the only person that got away with that, it was Michael Jackson, because he was Michael Jackson, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you went, many people didn't go to hear Michael sing. They went to see him perform.
Dance. Yep. Exactly.
But I want singing. And in case of hip hop, I mean, she was live to track. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that in that type of setting that she was in. So folks need to pipe down on that. I think
I agree.
I mean, come on.
I agree, brother. I agree.
Look, and it looks at the same time. There's probably tens of thousands of people who would just pay just to see her stand there and do nothing. So,
what would Stacey? What would you have done if you had thrown water on the stage and she had responded like that?
First of all, I would not throw anything on a stage. I have been.
You would have asked.
Yeah, I would. I
even
have
water.
Been,
yep.
Yeah, I have been to shows where, I mean, I've had the privilege of being backstage and seeing the setups and things of that nature. Now, I know in this case, again, I said earlier, she asked for the water to be thrown on her, but I know that artists don't want that type. They are locked in. They are especially when you're playing to a huge crowd. They are locked in. The last thing they want is to be interrupted, particularly in that manner. So no, I'm not throwing nothing on the stage. Mm-hmm. First of all, I don't want to be embarrassed like that young lady was. But I just think it's ridiculous. Even if you had an issue with that artist, there are thousands of other people here love that artist and enjoying that artist. Leave that artist alone.
And if you have an issue with the artist, then why are you there?
Why are you there?
No one held you at gunpoint.
Exactly. You went to work 9 to 5 and got that check on Friday and decided to use some of that money, most of that money nowadays, to to pay that artist to entertain you. So relax.
Yep.
Relax.
And enjoy the show.
It's as simple as that. This ridiculousness of throwing stuff has got to stop.
Agreed.
Austin, on over the weekend, barricades began to go up around the Fulton County Courthouse in Georgia, and District Attorney Fani Willis proclaimed that she is ready to move forward. The strongest hint yet that former President Donald Trump will face criminal charges. I thought you were applauding. Criminal charges in the Peach State. Further, State Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney on Monday rejected Trump's legal team's attempts to dismiss evidence in the ongoing investigation into the interference during the election there in Georgia. The judge also denied efforts by Kathy Latham, who is a GOP fake elector from Georgia, to join Trump's legal challenge. And he issued a 9-page order in which he stated that neither Trump nor Latham had to stand in to challenge the investigation at this pre-indictment phase. He emphasized that being the subject of a highly publicized criminal investigation does not justify interfering with or halting the proceedings. So the District Attorney Willis, she remains on track to formally charge Trump in the coming days. I know she set a deadline of September 1st, but it's looking more and more like it's going to happen any day now. They started to put the barricades up. She, in fact, a direct quote from DA Willis: "The work is accomplished," she said. Mm-hmm. She says, "We've been working for 2.5 years. We are ready to go."
Well, she is ready, and I am ready, and you are ready, and I'm sure all of our listeners are ready. With regard to District Attorney Willis, it's about time. It was back in early to mid February that she said that charges or indictments were imminent. Her words. So when I think of imminent, I'm no lawyer, but when I think of imminent, in terms of a time frame, I'm thinking, the next couple of days, mm-hmm. Maybe a week, maybe a month if you stretch it, a month and a half. When she said that, I was not in my wildest imagination thinking it would be, five, almost, almost 6 months. Having said that, kudos to her.
Hmm.
The only reason that you would need barricades around the courthouse in Atlanta is for an indictment.
Hmm.
You don't need barricades for a celebration by the Trump folks.
Right.
An indictment is coming. Don't know how many indictments there are, but it's about time. And the good thing about these particular indictments, and I believe there will be more than one, is
Hmm.
that worst case scenario, if Trump is reelected, you know, uh, he can pardon himself, he can pardon others at the federal level, but it's nothing you can do with state charges in Georgia or with state charges in New York.
Yeah, this the state charges, like you said, are really troublesome for him, particularly in New York, because you have a Democratic governor there. Georgia, you have a Republican governor, so you just don't know how that might shake out. And you have Ron DeSantis on record saying that if he's elected president, any crime that Trump charged federally with or is convicted of federally, he's willing to pardon Trump. Trump, while he has a way out as far as avoiding prison, when it comes to Georgia, when it comes to even the federal charges that he's facing down in Florida under those multiple indictments there, and even the January 6th case being federal, there is a path in which you can see a pardon, whether it's a state pardon or a presidential pardon. New York poses the most serious challenge as far as that's concerned, but New York doesn't have the most serious charges, though.
Hmm. Hmm. And just think about the nutty reality that we are in. That you know, and I was just listening to the news earlier. Whether it's Trump against the 7 or 8 or 9 Republicans who have announced, or whether it's Trump against who's supposed to be his closest opponent, Ron DeSantis. With both scenarios, he is 37, 40% ahead of all of them. Who would have imagined, 10, 15 years ago, hell, 8 years ago, who would have imagined that anybody who's been indicted once, much less twice, much less 3 times, much less probably 4 times, and
Four
possibly
times.
a 5th time,
And
would
convicted, don't forget,
exactly,
convicted
exactly.
by
Thank you, thank
a
you.
civil jury of sexual assault,
Hmm.
twice impeached. I mean,
No, no. I mean, it is crazy, and it's just I've said it before. I'll say it again. Just a blatant, disgusting, offensive, uh, 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 you know, demonstration and acceptance by far too many people in this country of blatant white privilege.
well, it's maybe that's Trump calling you and saying, "Hey, hey." But it's one of those things where it shows you once again how this political system in this country, um, it's really not about, well, you know what, you're the best candidate, or I know that you'll look out for my needs, or at least try to look out for my needs. This is all about power.
Power.
And really we see in the book bannings and everything else going on, it's about race,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's not about what's best for you know the majority of people who live in this country. it's
Well,
it's
look.
Go
Mhm.
ahead.
I mean, look what happened to the brother Republican Congressman Will Hurd from Texas. He spoke at some big political event in Iowa
Right.
on Friday,
Right.
and knew that he was knew that he was going into the lion's den by making these statements, and was very on
Yep.
point by saying that he's not running to advance his 2016 agenda. He's not running to advance his 2020 agenda. He's not running to advance any 2024 agenda. He's running for president to stay out of
Out of
jail.
prison. Yep.
And people booed him.
Yeah.
And think about
for
this.
speaking the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And think about this. Donald Trump is not running away from any of these indictments. He is embracing with
Mhm.
both arms these indictments. An indictment of me is, they're indicting me because they want to indict you,
Yeah.
meaning his supporter, and they are eating that nonsense up.
Well, just to your point, just to expand on your point, and I don't think anybody can argue with your point that he's running to stay out of prison, because you think about this, with all these charges and we're talking about serious charges, right? Obstruction. We're talking potentially inciting a insurrection or a riot. Um, uh, but the court dates are being set. You would think that his main focus would be trying to stay out of jail that way, like anybody else would be fighting, working with his attorneys. I don't have time to run a campaign. I don't, I got to put that off because my liberty is at stake. So recognizing that the damaging evidence that's already been made public, he sees the writing on the wall, and he realizes the only way to avoid, at the very least, a conviction, is he win the presidency.
Exactly.
And everything must then stop, like he would like for it to do now. Stop. He would like for it to stop.
But Stacey, your whole premise, what you just said, is based on common sense. Your premise is based on logic. None of with logical thinking. You're right. If I was facing prison time, I would not be on this show. I would not be writing for the Washington Informer. I would not be doing any work with my other clients. My focus would be doing what I can to stay out of prison. And in his warped mind, that's probably what he's thinking.
That's what he's thinking, right?
I mean, that's exactly what.
Because reality is, he
exactly.
Like you said at the top, he's running to stay out of prison. So, and you think about the fact that the charges against him and his age, right? A conviction could be a life sentence.
Yep. Just on one of them.
Just on one of them.
I mean, I was listening. I never knew the total count to date, but was listening to Chuck Todd yesterday on Meet the Press, and he said Trump has got 74 indictments. 74 indictments, right? As you and I are speaking this morning, not to say what's going to happen, later on today in Georgia or in Washington. I mean, that is just it's just staggering.
Yeah. These are 74 charges, right?
Now, I'm sorry, charges. Yeah.
Now, and these are felony charges. Felony. And as Greer's putting in, doesn't he deserve a life sentence though? Absolutely. I mean, anybody who has committed these type of crimes, anybody else, they would get a life sentence just on a couple of the charges.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because you were talking about violating the Espionage Act. So
and we would be in prison as we awaited,
while we wait for trial.
As we awaited, sentencing. Not sentencing, trial.
Yeah.
And what I find even more amazing is it's very cult-like. His hold on his base, how he's able to get into their minds get into their hearts to believe his, his nonsense. They are, I mean, I'm the only thing protecting you. Well, none of those folks in the audience, majority of folks in the audience have not done, might be a few, but I would imagine the majority of the folks who go to his rallies, who were there in Iowa the other night, have not committed any crimes, much less, federal crimes. I can't imagine anybody in that audience, having classified documents in their homes. But he just has a way of it. It's very Reverend Jim Jones like. It's very cult like how he gets in their head and stays in their head. And the more the more indictments come out, the more charges come out. They stand by his side.
Yeah, and for those who don't have all the great Austin and I have and may not know, I'm sure you've heard that expression, drinking the Kool-Aid. He mentioned Jim Jones. That's where that expression started. It was in the 70s.
1978. Yep.
1978.
Yep. Guyana.
Unbelievable stuff. And it's true. This if and it's not hyperbole, because if you look back at that whole Jim Jones, there's been movies done, documentaries done on that. If you look at that, it's hard to argue. It would be difficult to argue that Trump is no different.
Correct.
And his followers.
That was in the fall of 1978, Jonestown, Guyana, and there were
U.S. lawmakers killed.
Exactly. Yeah. Congressman Ryan from California. In fact, his I don't know if she was his chief of staff, but certainly a congressional aide is now filling his seat. But almost 1,000 people drank poisonous Kool-Aid, as did he. Trump is worse than Jim Jones, because Jim Jones at least drank the damn Kool-Aid. Donald Trump ain't drinking no Kool-Aid.
He said, y'all drink some bleach. Y'all drink some bleach. I'm not going to drink it, but y'all drink it.
Exactly.
Terrible. Oh, gosh. Well, you know what? And you mentioned the constituency. You mentioned how it seems the more indictments come, the more votes, at least by polling, the more votes he gets. Because Democrats are now extremely concerned. They're expressing concern about a potential drop next year in turnout, particularly among Black voters, the party's most loyal constituency, who played a consequential role in delivering the White House to President Biden in 2020 and will be crucial in his bid for re-election. Their concerns, Austin, stem from a 10 percentage point decline in Black voter turnout in last year's midterms compared with 2018, a bigger drop than among any other racial or ethnic group, according to a Washington Post analysis of the Census Bureau's turnout survey. Such a warning signals were initially papered over by other Democratic successes in 2022, including the party picking up a Senate seat in Pennsylvania, of course, Raphael Warnock in Georgia. But in key states like Georgia, the center of Democrats' plans to mobilize Black voters in large margins in 2024, it seems right now, at least, to be falling short, according to an internal party analysis. And, here's the other thing that the Biden administration has not yet done, not saying that they won't do it, but as they say that they're really trying to reach Black voters, particularly Black male voters. They have not yet utilized the vehicle, the primary vehicle in reaching out to African Americans, which is, of course, the Black press. And that's where it sits right now.
Absolutely. Reading these types of articles and talking to, Democrats in general and Blacks in particular who are iffy about voting next year just irks me to no end. I have absolutely no patience for it. Look, whether and I do believe that the Biden campaign does need to do a better job now, because it's already late, but now, of putting time and money and resources into various constituency communities all across the United States, not taking any community or constituency for granted. But for example, if you're a Black American, you know how bad Donald Trump was for America. What more do you need? I think I'm just of the opinion that we have to get out and vote. And I'm not talking any third party nonsense. Independents running. I don't have patience for that. The no label nonsense. I don't have patience for that. This is going to boil down to, right or wrong, Democrats and Republicans. And I think that the bottom line is, people are complaining about the president being old. Yes, he is old. May we all live to be 80 and older. But guess what? Donald Trump is old too. These are our two options to lead the country for the next few years. And if it's not, for some reason, Donald Trump, then it's going to likely be Ron DeSantis. So to me, it's just very simple, very black and white. In 2024, who is going to better represent the interests of Black people?
Well, Cedric Richmond says that we have to meet Black voters where they are, and we have to show them why the political process matters and what we have accomplished that benefits them.
Agreed.
He said there will be a clear focus on making Black voters aware of how they have benefited from the Biden administration, learning from the errors of past Democratic efforts that fell short. He says we will not make the mistake that others made of not drawing all the connections.
Please.
Black voters advocate says that they say that the challenge is particularly acute among Black men, many of whom say they feel alienated from the political process and were hurt by policies pushed by both parties that led to increased incarceration and a decline in manufacturing jobs decades ago. Many say that their lives haven't improved regardless of which party was in power. Still, Black men do say, 8 in 10 Black men said that there's no way that they would vote for Donald Trump.
Okay, well, it's not enough for Black men to say they're not going to vote for Donald Trump. You have to vote. And the option is voting for Joe Biden. Look, I understand, folks were turned off with the political process because of the Clinton crime bill in 95 or 96, whenever that is. That did indeed lead to the unfair incarceration, wrongful incarceration of many of our brothers and sisters, particularly our brothers. I get that, absolutely. Even Bill Clinton has said that he has regrets about that. But guess what? That bill was signed into law with the support of the majority of the Congressional Black Caucus. So a lot of folks, politics is a long-term game. If our, the 1950s and 60s, when we were fighting for, the right to vote, conditions were certainly worse then than they are now, particularly in the South. You don't think that young people in the 50s and 60s and older people and middle-aged people were discouraged, but in them getting out to vote and the sacrifices of Medgar Evers and others who gave their lives, we got the 1965 Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, well, we will see. We're still, a little ways away from the 2024 election. So we'll see what happens. But I'll tell you what else is going on. Speaking of Ron DeSantis, Austin, The oldest historically black collegiate fraternity in the U.S. says it is relocating a planned convention in 2 years from Florida because of what it described as Governor Ron DeSantis' administration's harmful, racist, and insensitive policies toward African Americans. Yep, Alpha Phi Alpha said this week that it would move its 2025 convention from Orlando to another location that they will decide later. The convention draws about 6,000 people and has an economic impact of about $5 million. The decision comes after the NAACP and other civil rights organizations this spring issued a travel advisory for Florida, warning that recently passed laws and policies are openly hostile to African Americans, people of color, and members of the LGBTQ plus community. Austin, your thoughts, initial thoughts on this move by Alpha Phi Alpha?
Well, I am wearing my Alpha Phi Alpha hat. You know, I have been a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha 06 since December 5th, 1980. You know, look, as I've said before on the show, and Stacy, you know, and Greer knows, I was born in Miami, Florida. So I'm just, you know, frustrated and disappointed and embarrassed about how my state of birth is going back in its policies under this racist, offensive Governor DeSantis to the policies of the civil rights era. But I could not be more proud of Alpha Phi Alpha, and I would encourage other fraternities and sororities and organizations to hit Florida in the in the pocketbooks, in the back pockets. That's the only way change is going to come. And it's very sad, as you just mentioned, you know, the Alpha Convention alone would have pumped about $5 million into the Florida, more specifically the Orlando economy. But when you have a governor who believes and is promoting books and doctrines that say that slavery was good under any circumstance.
Right.
No, they need to be hit. That state needs to be hit hard in the where it counts, and that's with the economy. And again, who knows how many, in addition to the $5 million pumped into that economy, how many jobs it would have created, even
Exactly.
even short term. But despite that, to me, the pros far outweigh the cons, and I'm glad that we are moving. We meet every other year, so that they just concluded their the fraternities conference in Dallas, Texas, just ended this last Friday or Saturday. We will not meet as a whole next year. There will be regional meetings, and I'm just waiting for a decision on where the 2025 convention will be held. But you talk this nonsense like DeSantis and the CRT and all of this, banning books. You have to pay for your for your nonsense.
Yeah, at least 9 other organizations or associations have pulled the plug on hosting conventions in Orlando and Fort Lauderdale, 2 of the state's most populated or popular convention cities, I should say. Florida, it's about tourism. More than 137.5 million tourists visited Florida last year, making a return to pre-pandemic levels, according to Visit Florida. The state's tourism promotion agency. Tourism, of course, supports 1.6 million full-time and part-time jobs, and visitors spent almost $100 billion in 2019 in Florida. That was the last year that the figures are available.
Wow.
So yeah, like you said, in the pocketbook. I mean, you got to hit them where it hurts, and
Absolutely.
that's what this, Alpha Phi Alpha has contributed to, hitting them where it hurts.
Yep, I couldn't be more proud.
As he sports his fraternity all the time, either on his hat, his shirt, somewhere.
Don't hate, Stacy. Don't hate.
No, I'm not listening. Oh man, listen. I tell you what, Texas another example of why it's so hard to be black in America. Texas police held a black family at gunpoint earlier this month after a typo led police to wrongly believe their car was stolen. And here's a video of that.
Outside the car. We know there is a gun in there. If you reach in that car, you may get shot. So be careful. Do not reach in the car.
Come back here. What happened? Is that your tag on the vehicle? Yeah, I'm from Arkansas, Little Rock. I'm a nurse. I've never done anything in my life.
I've never been into a day in my life.
Hands down,
this is scaring the hell out of me.
I have that anxiety.
Okay. I'm trying.
Relax. Okay. So, are y'all here out of town? Where are you coming?
We're a tournament. We're in Super 64 National. Look at my baby.
Nothing's gonna happen to him. Nothing's gonna happen to him.
Everything matches up perfect.
That's on me.
We're gonna explain everything.
Yeah, I know.
Just get it figured out.
Listen, bro, we just here for a basketball tournament, bro.
We just learned right now. That's why we stopped.
Man, don't do this to my son, bro. Come on, man. I'm a basketball coach, bro.
It's okay.
Look, listen, look at this, bro. Listen, bro. We are legit. I'm a basketball coach. I got concealed carry and everything, bro.
That's why we told you.
Y'all put a gun on my son for no reason, dog.
So, it looks like I made a mistake. So, I ran at AZ for Arizona instead of AR. And that's what happened.
And you can also go away.
So I made a mistake.
But just listen, though. It could have went all wrong for us, though.
What do you mean by that?
I'm just saying, though, one day, because like I say, I dropped my phone here. They yelled out, don't move or we'll shoot. Then I dropped my phone. If I would have went to reach for my phone, we could have all got killed. You know, man, it's just, there's so much shit going on, man. This, hey, man, I'm telling you, man, this is
Wow.
You know, I'm almost in tears watching this.
Yeah, and you gotta understand too that there were two kids in that car. One of them they put in handcuffs for some reason. And as he said, I mean, they had the guns, as we saw too. They had the guns drawn on. This was in Frisco, Texas, which is about 30 miles north of Dallas. And simply because they ran their plate, which begs the question as to why they ran their plate in the first place, right?
Yeah, why?
There was no explanation given for that, but and then why would you put a 12-year-old in handcuffs? Which is what they did here. She ran the plates, and she ran Arizona instead of Arkansas, and so it came back as not valid or unidentifiable. Terrorized this family. You could hear the officer basically say, "Looks like I made a mistake, so I ran it AZ for Arizona instead of AR," and that's what happened. The officer says, and like the husband here says, it could have went all wrong for us.
Exactly. You know. Look, police officers are human beings. You know, they make mistakes. But in this instance, you know, first and foremost, thank God there were, you know, as that gentleman said, you know, he dropped his cell phone, you know, in the heat of the moment, you know, probably, you know, frightened at all that was going on, you know, guns drawn on you. I mean, can you imagine had he reached down, as he said,
right?
You know, they would have opened fire and, you know, injured or killed him as well as other family members. So, you know, needless to, you know, to say, this should be a lawsuit, a serious lawsuit filed against the family, against the state police, or local police, whoever it closed whatever jurisdiction it was.
It closed down the entire southbound lane of this freeway. And which showed you too that they were prepared to I hate to use this term, but they were prepared to execute this family.
That's right. And you know, and for what reason? And I mean, again, I've not read, I don't know if you have, you know, why they pulled them over to begin with, whether it was Arizona, whether it was Arkansas, whatever the confusion was. What concerned them? about this particular van or this SUV
They
or
never
whatever
said
it
that they
is
was
to pull
driving
them over.
erratically or did anything to break the law, didn't change lanes without. They never indicated that anything except they saw this black family in the car with out of state plates, and they decided to run the plates.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Why?
Yep.
Out of state plates are a commonplace.
Thank you. Any and everywhere, not just in Texas.
Right.
And to put the and to put the 12-year-old in handcuffs. I mean, why would you put anybody in handcuffs, much less a 12-year-old? Why not the adults? I mean, what was he doing to justify being put into into handcuffs? And she did acknowledge her mistake. If I saw correctly, I saw a handshake. I guess it was her and the father. But it would go beyond a handshake.
Well, I could see why he would shake her hand. I could see why relief, and knowing that he's gonna leave he and his family without being they're gonna leave. They're gonna without leaving it in the coroner's bag.
Yep.
All
of them are one of them.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And so, yes, certainly. You apologize. I mean, that was big. And the officer, yes, absolutely wanted to get that on camera.
Absolutely.
Listen, that is so true. But I'm sure, unless they have their own attorney that they have in mind, I'm sure Ben Crump will be in Frisco, Texas, probably by the time we could get off the air.
Exactly. And this. I mean, just think about the tragic outcome. I forget the brother's name, but the police officer, thought that she was taking out her taser, and took out her gun, and and killed him. To this day, I still don't understand how a trained police officer. I mean, I've never held a gun, much less a taser. But I'm pretty certain, even in the heat of the moment, I would reach to the side and feel this is not, this is a gun. I don't want my gun. I want my taser.
Right.
How can a trained law enforcement officer have made that mistake?
Because they're more trained with the gun than they are with the taser. So she, by knowing, come on. And in this case, they kept the gun even after. While they were being informed that this was a mistake, one of the officers still was pointing the gun toward the car with the husband and nephew inside of the car. Wow, they were being informed. So it's it's just, and all of that too, despite this handshake being on tape, all that's on tape too.
That's right. And can you imagine, thank God one of those officers gave the orders, if you reach for anything, we're going to open fire. Because my first reaction would have been to reach down and pick up my cell phone. If my cell phone, fell out of nervousness or fear, I'm pretty certain, unless I heard that command, I would have reached down and put the phone on the on the dashboard.
Because that is now one of our reactions, our immediate reactions.
Yeah.
Right. We need to film what's going on. People need to know why they killed me. That they had no reason to kill me.
Yep.
And that is unfortunate. But it is, as they say, what it is.
Exactly.
A sergeant came on the scene and finally put it into what they refer to as a high-risk stop. Why do they refer to it as a high-risk stop? Because of the individuals in the car. I mean, you had a nurse. They didn't say, we don't know what the husband's job is, what he does for a living, but we do know he was taking his son and his nephew. They were going to a basketball game.
And again, the father didn't sound drunk to me. He didn't sound disoriented to me.
No.
They never said, if you listen to the interaction with the officer and the family members, again, nothing's ever said about why we pulled you over. You were driving erratically. You know,
Mhm.
your tail light was out. You know, what was the nonsense excuse with the guy driving the 18-wheeler
Oh
who had the
gosh.
dog sick on
The
him?
other cops telling them, don't send
You
the
know the
dog.
mud flap. You know the mud flap.
A mud
You
flap.
know,
Yes.
of all the things you need to be
Of all
concerned
the
about, you
things.
know, mud flap.
Look, you know, this happened in Frisco, Texas. I was in Frisco about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago. Beautiful place. However, need we say more?
Yep.
And that is the unfortunate thing. Austin, you know, I think it's really sad that as much as we do these programs, that we can't. And Power 96 last Friday kept saying, "It's Friday. Give us some good news. Let's end on some good." It's hard to present what we would consider good news. I mean, this in itself, the ending of this is good news that they didn't get
Yep.
shot,
Exactly.
that they didn't get killed.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
and that's
A
sad.
blessing.
That
That's
is
a
our good
blessing
news.
because they came very close to
Oh,
being executed.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, folks, this is why again it's so important that the Black press stays on the case. It's so important to have people like Austin, the people like Barrington, and others you see come through and really dissect and talk about these issues, because you're not going to talk about them, not like Austin and Barrington and others, Rashonda Tate and others that we have on, Dawn Montgomery. They're not going to talk about it like that on CNN.
Nope.
So
nope.
we
That's
appreciate you,
why-
Austin. I know you got some appointments to attend to.
Absolutely, brother. I
And
appreciate you.
we definitely appreciate you, and appreciate you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
All right.